advanced so much that it's kind of one of those things where we have moved on and figured out we actually need drones to actually do a lot of work. And it's not necessarily just in oil and gas industry, it's across every industry out there right now, delivery, inspection side for any kind of energy side, and plus standard power plants and everything else. So there's quite a bit of drone industry that's kind of gone on and led up to all this. Like I said, I'm gonna try to hit a lot more, just touch bases really on just the oil and gas industry. There's a lot of different options out there on top of that. I'm just gonna kind of go through some basic scenarios and situations and equipment and aircraft that actually are flown that we deal with most here with Flogistix. I always gotta show this picture. This is one of our mobile command centers we have, and it was morning sunrise over in the panhandle of Texas. So we got to do that and everything else that morning. It was kind of nice. So I've always used my presentations. Got to throw a little pitch out there every now and then. So drones in the oil and gas industry, as I was talking, it was like technology has advanced quite a bit through over the years. Everybody knows how we've been doing inspections, trying to get data off of facilities and locations, and that mainly consists of someone out there walking around the facility, taking pictures, trying to collect data, trying to bring in all this information and take it back to the main office to actually get that data and actually tie it all together somehow and present it over to whoever else needs it. Or you're depending on someone else. I send, like for me, we have Bo, so if I was to send Bo to go take a picture of something, it'd be the wrong picture because that's how Bo operates. But it's one of those things, you're always missing extra data here and there. So someone's got to go all the way back out to the location again. They got to get all that data one more time and then come back and finish stitching it together, bringing it back together. So with that, with the drone application on that side of it, it's actually great. Because in a drone application, we're flying lawnmower patterns, we're doing massive scans around the whole entire facility, so we're getting every inch of data that we possibly can off that facility with one flight, and actually be able to bring that back to actually the main facility or office or wherever you guys are doing kind of that kind of collection. So in that aspect of it, it's actually way faster and safer for us to actually do that, and time consuming no matter what, as we can actually do that. One of the other biggest attributes of all this with the drone, my pilot, or any pilot, I shouldn't say my pilot, but any of the pilots that are actually flying these are stationary in one spot. So with him being stationary right here doing the whole entire facility, he's not trying to walk around, tripping over there, hazards actually being in gas plumes if actually has H2S on facility or something like that. We're away from any kind of danger and we're not endangering ourselves. We're off facility or on the edge of this facility trying to get this data and collecting and bringing it in. So with all that, it's getting more and more safer, more reliable, more quality control of the data that you're going to collect off of these facilities and locations. Going further with AI technology, there's a lot more stuff now. It's getting more advanced. You're not even having a pilot on facility. Everything's going to be remote. So just through time advances and everything goes forward, we're not going to have someone sitting on location. You're going to have docking stations in a lot of areas. They're going to do massive scans over different areas and have that all centrally stationalized out of someone else operating it. It already is working and being done right now in that aspect, but there's still a lot of different scenarios, and I'll talk a bit more on rules and regulations down the road here. But in that scenario, it's happening, and it's going to happen. It's just something that everybody's going to have to bring in and understand that technology is going to keep on advancing. We're not going to have to do this manual stuff. A lot of it, it's going to be all AI driven. Data's going to be collected for either robots, drones, or something else. Telemetry systems, they're all going to be coming in. They're all coming now into main data centers, and they're collecting data off of a facility, and you guys have that at your fingertips. And that's one of the best things about a drone application. It actually has all that data with one person collecting all of it in one swoop, and actually being able to take that back to a data center to actually to actually distribute that back out to customers or whatever, whoever's needing at that aspect. So as we're getting through all these areas, these hazardous locations through here, as we've noticed through the H2S scenarios down, especially in the Permian Basin. I do a lot of flying in the Permian Basin, and I want to say 95% of the locations that my company flies for down in the Permian Basin are all heavy H2S. So they're not sending any manpower out there at all. So it's one of those things where you're not having to put somebody, especially now it's getting worse and worse, someone has to operate under air. So if someone having to get on pop of tanks, you're not having to do it. The drone's above there taking pictures or imagery that you guys need or any kind of measurements or data collection that you need. So it's kind of a good thing that way. Just some more pictures of the stuff in the oil field, just operations and stuff that's always out there. So most companies that are actually kind of doing stuff in the oil field have all their data or all their equipment in the truck. They're not flying out with one and everything else. When I deploy my guys to go do any kind of work, we're taking all our cameras that we possibly have to do anything, because it always comes up last minute. I'm going to have someone come in and say, hey, while you're there, can you do this real quick too? So it's a different scan, it's a different camera. So it's one of those things that most people that are trying to do operations on the standard basis are actually going to have multiple camera systems in them, with them at all times, as to how that would work. So oil field applications, these are the main ones that are actually kind of out there that oil field are actually using drones for. So any of these kind of scenarios that are coming up lately. So you have any kind of quad oil inspection. So everybody knows rules and regulations are getting stricter and harder. it's actually being done with a lot more drone work and stuff instead of handheld, because there's more repetitive stuff that's actually able to launch that drone and do it quicker and faster every single time. So all your maintenance programs and everything else, keeping monitors of everything and kind of floating around and how that kind of goes. LDR programs, now that a lot of rules and regulations have passed and stuff like that, instead of it having to be with a handheld, we're actually able to do it with drones. So there's a lot of different scenarios and situations where a drone was actually going to take over your LiDAR program on top of that and do AI technology to advance it and keep it more regulatory and data collected as you need it. 2D, 3D scans and models. So a lot of acquisitions happen over the last several years. So if someone's actually looking for that, they're actually contracting any kind of drone pilot or drone operations to come in there and do full scans and operations of all this. So they scan the whole entire thing and give you a 2D or 3D model of this facility. So they have that for that acquisition. It's like, here, this is what this facility looks like. This is what you're going to get going forward. And then the second scenario with those 2D, 3D models, we do a lot of it with actually, I don't know how many engineers are in here, but how many of these guys are actually wanting to go to the field and try to get all this data to collect, because we need to add separators, tanks, we need to change things around. With that kind of scenario, all that data is one, he pulls up an image and he has everything at his fingertips. I can see the whole entire facility with that whole layout. Hey, here I can add 6 more tanks, I can add another separator, I can do this, we can replumb off of this, or we need to extend pad. So a lot of the scenarios with these acquisitions or people trying to advance or grow their locations and facilities is all being done through some kind of drone technology, because they're bringing all that data in. Someone's able to review it and done through there, then it's passed on. So he does another CAD drawing with it, he's bringing it through there, showing it's like, hey, we need to add more pipe through here, we can add another run meter. You know, through pipeline, you're actually looking at any kind of pre and post systems with all that. So as you're digging your pipeline, we can monitor from day one and constantly be adding, and every time they do another section, we're adding that. So you're seeing each segment, make sure it's on track. Same thing with location and facility builds. We do that first initial scan, it's just dirt. Next scan we do, it's got a couple pipes and compressors on there. Next one actually jumps into tanks. So you're seeing each segment as you're going through all that, and then at that point, you're gonna bring it at the very end and actually have the full layout to make sure it's actually meeting your standards and specs without having to go to the field, take pictures, look at things yourself. And that's going to be back into actually the LiDAR scans on all that, because actually that's when a lot of these guys are actually doing CAD drawings off of them. So they're getting that true detail and making sure measurements actually right, because you can do Google overlays with actually true data points and stuff in the air. So you can actually see, it's like, hey, this was supposed to be right this location. It's actually going to kick back and actually show that also. It's like, hey, this is supposed to have been like 20 feet that direction. And everybody here knows, especially old school, hey, build this facility, here's a rough drawing, and then you get out there and it's nothing like that you actually built. Now with this technology, especially, it's actually advanced so much that you're actually within inches of measurements of actually laying out your facilities or whatever pipeline and everything else at that point, because it's using true satellite GPS data to actually mark and indicate everything across the board. Flare tip inspections. This is a big one, especially down in the Permian Basin. We do quite a bit of this stuff down that direction, because they're actually making sure there's no cracks and everything else. Everybody knows that this kind of standard is, if you do a flare tip inspection, you're sending a crew of 3 guys, if not more. One guy's in the sky lift, lifting him up, he's doing visual inspection just with his hands, taking pictures what he can, and actually putting himself in that kind of danger. So now you have a guy on the ground operating this, then you have another guy if there's air, because he's actually under H2S. We're not doing anything like that. We can actually fly a drone. You get 360 video, 360 imagery, top to bottom. Flare tips are lit, not lit. You can actually do that with the drone in the air. I can actually see that, hey, your flare tip's not even burning completely. And in fact, one of the video pictures I have, not video, but one of the pictures I have, you'll see that actually a flare tip that's not even actually lit. It's just bursting gas out 100%. Thermal scans, not a whole lot of that's been done in the oil field, but it is being done because there's a lot of power grids everybody's putting in now. So you're looking for that kind of scenario because everybody's over their own power grid sections throughout all these regions. So with that, we can actually go there and start looking at all your transformers and everything and seeing your hot spots. Hey, that transformer's getting hot and it shouldn't be that hot. That transformer's getting ready to go. It's preventative maintenance. We're actually catching it before it fails and the actually field goes down. You can actually schedule in a true maintenance to actually shut down facilities, get everything else instead of a true hard shutdown and then you're days out trying to get someone there. You're scheduling it, you're maintaining it, and actually getting it done before. So thermal imagery is mainly set up for that kind of situation for sure. Pipeline inspections. I don't know how many people in this scenario in this room here does a lot of pipeline inspection, but back in the day, people were walking pipelines, they were side by side, everything else. A lot of walking, a lot of putting people in danger due to snakes, you know, other things that are out there that can actually bite you, infect you, kill you. With the drone application, stationary one spot, we're flying miles of pipeline and gathering data with methane detection off of it, because we can actually pick all that up and also giving you a visual. So you can actually see if there's erosion issues. You have people that actually are entreating into your right of way, making sure you're maintaining everything 100%, and that data is 100% back at you guys and you're in your back pocket at all times. It never goes away. It's there as long as you guys want to keep it. So I'll talk a little bit about different drones and different cameras or actually equipment that you can actually mount on drones, just for kind of what basic oil field scenarios and situations. This is a quadcopter, because it's got 4 blades on it. You can actually have different stages, different scenarios. You can have from real small ones to very large ones. There's a bunch of different applications out there for different types of drones. It's not based off of one style drone only. There's drones out there for every different application. Tank inspections, you can actually do NDTs with tanks now with drones. I don't know if people even know that. You can actually check your thicknesses, make sure you're not having major erosions internally. There's a lot of different applications. You can do internal tank inspections with drones. With all these drones here, there's always different applications with different types of drone depending on what you're needing and what you want to do with all this. So it kind of just breaks down on just what kind of drone you're actually truly needing. Most time when you're trying to hire somebody out, you're going to explain the situation, what they need, and they're going to tell you if they have the equipment or the drone to actually capably do that. This is our fixed wing drone. This is actually a good pipeline setup. We can actually fly this thing at up to 70 miles an hour, 2.5 hours of flight time. And we're actually doing it at slow speed at probably 45 miles an hour before stall hits it. It's a true aircraft pretty much. It's still unmanned, but it's actually a drone. Because it takes off VTOL and then it turns into a pusher and turns into an aircraft. Come back to land, turns back into a VTOL takeoff, which I mean VTOL is going to come up and straight down. It's not a landing like an aircraft. So at that scenario, this here is actually capable of doing all that stuff without having nothing against aircraft and nothing else. But if you actually look at something in some scenarios, the slower, lower you are on something, the better you can see it. An aircraft flying at thousands of feet in the air, I'm flying this below 400 foot. There's some scenarios I'm flying 100 foot off the deck. And I'm actually getting that quality, detailed imagery and methane detection off of it as we're flying through the air with all this aircraft.
What's the wingspan on that?
15 foot. Just a little guy. He's real small, nothing real major. I'm under 55 pounds. So it's still part 107 scenario, which I'll talk on regulations on 107.
Is that the gross weight or is that the payload?
With payload, I can go up to 55. So I'm right under 55 with that, without the payload. So without payload on this aircraft, I can go over 3 hours of flight time. Where there's nothing but it just flying in the air, just circling around doing whatever it needs to do. You can get quite a bit of time out of this and quite a bit of scenarios and stuff. So sniffer applications. So a lot of you guys are probably actually putting sniffers on facilities and catching plumes of gas as they blow one way or another. I'm okay with the sniffer applications and everything else with the drone. I have issue with the drone with the sniffer. You have to fly through the plume, and it's not one of those things that can detect it from the air. You're flying in circles around the whole entire facility of it. So when you're actually flying around a facility, you're actually getting measurements in the air. So if you can see here, it's all yellow. It started off green over here, but we're getting yellow because there's gas in the air. But see over here in this little area, it's actually the hot spot. There's actually gas. But in reality, the gas isn't right there. Because remember, the air is moving, wind's blowing, aircraft's moving. The leak was actually considered right here. But the way the wind was blowing, we caught it there. It's a good application to let you guys, alert you in advance. You're leaking gas somewhere on your facility. You probably need to get someone out there to maintain that and kind of get that going or taken care of in that situation, start sniffing around and looking for it. So it does its job. It really does. It's not a bad scenario or situation, even the stationary mount ones. To me though, it has to cross through the plume itself. So if wind direction changes, so if you have stationary stuff, it's the same scenario. If the wind's not blowing that direction, you'll never get that hit of gas. It's just gonna sit there like, oh yeah, we're clean, but the wind's blowing the other direction, the gas is going the other way. Same thing with this, though, we have to fly through it. That's why we kind of do more of a outer patterning, zigzag across the top of it to get that to see if there's any gas in the area. Back up here. Oops, went too far. A lot of the sniffer systems that you can actually have out there that I'm just looking at all this, it'll actually start giving you that true data. So with all that data, it's giving you percentages on every one of those zones. So it starts, if you really look at the box on there, it actually gives you a percentage of actually how much methane's in the air from your neutral spot when you took off. So from your clean spot to actually going to the air, it starts giving you percentages of that. And most sniffers, if you want to see in that data, you guys want to collect this data, so everyone's flying for you, you want to say, hey, where's my data at with that? That's the data that you guys need to have. Because that's going to tell you each one of those segments, how much gas is in the air, and it's also going to start telling you concentration levels across the board as an average for that facility. Methane laser. So there's several out there also. On these aspects of lasers, it's nice because it's going to give you the measurement. It's actually sending lasers straight from the aircraft down to the ground and reflecting back up. So it's all reflectivity based. It's called TD-LAS. So with that scenario, as it's going through and it hits the plume of gas, it's going to measure that. But then all it's going to give you is a ppm reading because it's a measurement of that. So in that scenario, it's not true quantification, but it's giving you, hey, there's a percentage of gas between my laser at 100 foot in the air, down to the bottom and back up. There's a measurement measured between that where the laser hit the plume, hit the reflectivity off the ground, and then went back up to the aircraft. So it's just a measurement of that plume is what it is. But it's giving you still that measurement, that's quite a bit, so you start seeing higher numbers off of this. So you start seeing concentration levels off of everything like that. So most scenarios you're gonna actually, here's your data again. I'm gonna mention data a lot. Data is the key to anything you're gonna do with any kind of future stuff. It has to be data driven, just letting you guys know. It'll start giving me Latin long, and it's gonna give me a concentration measure. There's 17,650 in that first hit. Most of the time on any kind of T-glass system, you're gonna get an image, and then you're gonna get you can actually create heat maps and everything else. So as a company, what we do for this data, we come back in, you're gonna get this data here. It's gonna show the image there when the camera, because there's cameras on it too. In that zone right there is actually where it hit. It picked up that measurement, so it took that imagery right then and there. And then we come back in and off a KML file, any kind of Google Earth scenarios, we actually show, here's our flight pattern, the red off this pipeline, and all those are indicating back to spots of actually plumage. So in certain areas, it'll actually refer back to, because on this one here, it's kind of a made up one because you guys can't have all the true data. I'll get in trouble. So any of these things here, you'll start seeing, if you actually click on that, it'll actually show you, hey, this was actually the 17,650 ppm reading off of that. So you can actually come back in and you're sending crews out to actually inspect this. So when you have that, you're not over there, well, it's on the pipeline between the starting point and the ending point. It's kind of over here by the canyon off the second curve. You're actually getting Latin long and actually the pinpoint off of that. So you can actually start figuring that out. A lot of the customers that I first started dealing with were like, they weren't very happy with me because I was finding the leaks that were being checked before in areas that no one got to. They were out in the middle of nowhere and there's no access to that pipeline and they haven't had a right-of-way cut forever. They were having to figure out how to recut everything back in, get equipment over there to do repairs. So especially in this area, all that canyon area, that's over there, that canyon through that zone right there is over in Colorado and Utah area. It's heavy, heavy canyon, not very fun for anybody to kind of deal with. Someone to walk it, ain't gonna happen. Drone, we flew everything and had everything, all the data right there without anybody having to go out there, without trying to walk up the side of canyons and trekking across hundreds of miles of pipeline through all those zones. This is the big boy right here, OGI. Everybody knows about this. I need your Quad O, Quad OA, Quad OB, Quad OC stuff. It's all going to be done through all this right here. With advanced technologies, I can thank Kristen a lot here. We've done quite a bit of researching from the beginning of our project till now of helping develop OGI, on-drone applications to actually be done in the oil and gas industry. I'm very big on this. I go to conferences, people know who I am, but it's one of those things where we've helped develop this because we were trying to get drone applications because we knew it was a lot better way to do inspections than actually do with a handheld. And with that being said, it's mainly, do you want a bird's eye view or do you want the guy from the ground looking right up here and tell me there might be something there, or do you want that bird in the air doing 360 around every component, getting you all that data no matter what, he's seeing everything 100%. We do have flaws. We can't be inside of buildings and we can't see underneath equipment. But with all the advanced technology with OGI, I'm seeing gas out of compressors on the bottom side, recips. Everybody knows a recip, you know how that goes. Every one of those packing glands leak. I don't care who you are, what you are, that packing gland is gonna leak, it's coming from the bottom. Our advanced technology, we've advanced so much through our camera systems, you can actually see that coming off the side of the compressor, so we know there's gas. We're gonna have to go in there and manually figure out which one, what line it is or whatever else, but we'll see the gas steal from the air, but it's not really based off of us pinpointing 100% from the air because we can't get in there with the drone. So there's applications where you're gonna have to use handheld, but if I can catch it and then we're just sending someone in to redo that repair real quick, hey, there's gas leaking from underneath, you guys just need to go over there and do a repair underneath on the bottom side, 99% of the time it's a packing gland. That's how that kind of works. These are just a couple aerial views. Right there's a flare. It's not lit. It's leaking a little bit of gas, not a whole lot, just a little bit. And then actually here's the top view. So most of the time on your guys on any kind of a Nardo or thief hatch or in that kind of scenario, nothing against handheld guys. All my guys do handheld work on top of that also. But you don't get that full view of that. You don't get the full imagery of that plume because you're only getting a part of it because you're looking from the ground up. You're not looking from the top down. So as I can see this plume here, that flare plume is pretty much obvious. Everybody can see that no matter what from the ground. You can see it from a major distance. But that view right there, that gives me the whole layout of that plume. And if you look the way it is, the way it's going across all this piping, just knowing how it goes down the oil field, been there, done that trick. If he's walking it, he's walking the path on this side of it. He's not messing with any of this. So he might not even see that plume the way the wind's blowing, and he's not walking inside that middle area to catch that between those tanks. Just saying. We've been proving and proving time and time again with OGI. Did lots of demos a long time ago, proving to customers, oh, you'll never find a leak on us. Or they had their handheld guys go do it, and then I go find 5 leaks. I find 3 leaks that their guys never found, because it's a bird's eye view. It's a totally different scenario, setup, situation for that. With that bird's eye view, doing 360 scans all around everything, you're getting that good imagery and that good data to turn back in. You're always going to be within compliance and making sure you're meeting all those regulatory needs that you have for that. Talked a little bit about thermal cameras. You know, I said it's not a whole lot in the oil field, but that's a standard one that's always out there too for oil and gas industry. Just standard thermal imagery. Everybody's seen it. In reality, that's thermal imagery also. That's mid-wave. That's long wave. It's just the way it kind of reads it. So it's just one of those different scenarios. OGI is thermal. That's it. It is. It's just one of those things, but you can actually see gas plumes because it's mid-wave, not long wave. So you're not seeing any kind of that scenario with it. But thermal imagery is thermal imagery. Everybody knows it. You can do thermal imagery off your phone anymore. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of one of those things you can just pull it up and pull up an app and scan everything and kind of see your own walls at your house and see where you're leaking and where's your cold and hot spots in your house. This is, like I said, this has been a key thing for a lot of companies out there anymore is this 2D, 3D modeling. We're stitching a lot of pictures together so you can actually get this detail. Like I said, I didn't bring the whole setup because I can actually see the granules and rocks off of these facilities and actually zoom in on a rock on that facility like, hey, there's rocks through here. But these guys here, we're doing Google overlay, so you can kind of see the way this is through here. That's the Google Earth, and then we're overlaying on this, so you can see our imagery, how it's matching with everything. But you start seeing the details. Hey, this is our low areas. We probably need to bring gravel, more dirt in here to bring this back up. Hey, we're gonna come in here. We need to eliminate half of these tanks because they're not even being used no more. Whatever the scenario is, as an engineer, if I give you this data and then you can zoom in closely on all this and actually see, hey, we need to add 4 more tanks, and you look down over here and there's piping. Hey, there's more setup right here. There's a ball valve that's closed. We can open that ball valve, set up another tank system, set up another separator, bring in whatever we need off of this, or we can eliminate this, what we need to do because our production dropped off so bad from this facility. That data is unbelievable. We have customers that we do repeat stuff when they've reworked, they've gone through initial scans and everything else, or they're trying to do something different, or hey, it's been a couple years, resend that out. We found environmental issues. We've actually helped customers with their EPA stuff, because when you have that big spill, I can go scan that spill, have all that data, and then I can actually bring it back in and do another scan after the cleanup, and now you have 2 imageries that you can overlay with each other and show, here's your spill, here's the cleanup, this is where we're at, it's clean and legit. EPA can't come after you, you got true data, timestamp, date, and everything else with true GPS coordinates, because everything's there. All that data is right there again, and you're bringing it all in, and you have that to actually help yourself cover all that. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things, data is, like I said, back to the key thing with all this way it's going. I attend a lot of EPA conferences, and that's all they mention about. You guys doing enough data? Where's your data going? Where's it coming from? What's it gonna do with it? That data, you gotta make sure if you're contracting anybody out and they're bringing you stuff, you want data with it. You just don't want, oh yeah, you did pretty good and give you a thumbs up. There's no backing now. If you give them data, one way or another, through inspection or through modeling, you're actually gonna cover yourself pretty well. On this here too, as you can kind of see on the side right here, that's that kind of measurement tools that we actually have too, that can actually give you whenever we give a model. So you can go in there and start measuring tanks. Hey, that's 10-foot tall tank. That one's a 17-foot VRT or whatever. You can start measuring that. You can actually start going back and doing measurements for different applications and stuff for EPA for actually your tank, your containment areas for your tanks and stuff. All the measurements there, you have that detailed information for that. This is where it gets to be fun. As a 107 pilot, I'm a certified pilot through drone application. Everyone here can go buy a drone and play with it and do whatever you want. No rules, no regulations. You can have as much fun as you want. Nothing holding you back. You crash it, it's oh well, you know? You move on, go forward. Us as 107 pilots, different rules and regulations. We have a list. So there's quite a bit going on for us as true pilots to actually fly this. One of the big things, if anybody's gonna fly for you guys or do any kind of work for you, you wanna make sure they're certified 107 pilots, because they're gonna follow every rule and regulation that's out there per state regulatory and federal regulatory needs to actually get the job done. Because secondary on top of that is insurance. Making sure they have true drone insurance, not just, oh, I have some insurance, is it true drone insurance? Been scenarios and situations where people have crashed drones on there, done damage to facilities. Their insurance didn't cover it because it was not a drone application insurance. It was just an insurance they had, but since it was done by drone, we have a whole different set of insurance. So our company is one of the ones we have to have drone insurance, and then we have our regular, I guess, for our field service and everybody else insurance on top of that. So you gotta make sure you're playing that game pretty well. So that's 2 main things that you can make sure whoever you hire or do actually has those. But that 107, if they truly have that, they understand the rules and regulations the way it's gonna be. Anybody can go apply for a 107. There's no, the only restriction is you have to be 16 years old or older. But if you're doing any kind of work as oil field, as you're doing a real estate agent, you're doing a roofer, all these different applications, to truly do it legally, In all honesty, you need a 107 license. So just remember that. If you're gonna hire somebody to do something, make sure they're truly licensed pilots. And most of the time you want, when we issue our insurance card out, all my registered pilots are on there with their registration number on top of that. The second thing I didn't put on here, all my aircraft are registered aircraft. Your aircraft, you don't have to register unless you're over 55 pounds. But no one here is gonna buy an over 55-pound aircraft for pleasure, trust me, because when you see the price on that, our 15-foot wingspan, minimum $140,000 without a payload. So you're not gonna go buy over 55-pound aircraft, I guarantee you, unless you just wanna have one, I guess. But every one of our aircraft, since it's registered, it's an actually true aircraft. Because I have FAA numbers on every one of my aircraft, just like an airplane does. People over here always wanna, oh yeah, I wanna shoot that thing down. Go ahead. We've had people shoot at us before in our first time. It's a federal offense if it's a registered aircraft and it's a certified pilot. So you will go to jail, just like if you're shooting down United Airlines. Same, they don't care, drone, 200 passenger. Same scenario, 100%. So just always remember that when we go out as a customer, for our customers and doing pipeline inspections, we always let our people know, hey, if we're going through residential zones, which we have access to do, can you make sure you notify all those residentials that we'll be flying a drone through this on the pipeline right away, which we have full access to. Hey, there will be a drone in the air and everything else, because we've had several scenarios where we've had to land the drone immediately because we've been getting shut at. But it is a federal offense, just so everybody remembers that. So one of our big things is our aircraft has to be under 400 feet as a 107 license. You guys, recreational, you can go do whatever you want. No one cares. Fly at 2,000 feet if it'll actually hit it. Most of the DJI product will actually get up to about 1,200 foot in the air without an issue. DJI is pretty advanced, but it's one of those things you can still do it if it's without a restricted area and stuff. So, drone insurance we talked about. Like I said, some states have different regulatory requirements for drones on top of federal. So if someone's doing it, make sure they're understanding both sides of it. Most 107 pilots, like I said, when you're hiring a certified pilot, they know the rules and regulations. They know they need to check if they can actually fly and whatever they're doing. Because there's a lot of restricted areas too. We're not allowed to fly in those either. We're actually shut down. I'll skip a little bit here to that blue aircraft thing right there. With that being said, so blue aircraft is that US made aircraft. One of the biggest things is knowing the government's changing where they just want, US aircraft only, no Chinese aircraft. The drawback, guys, is Chinese aircraft are way more advanced and better technology than our aircraft. It's crazy what we can do. My aircraft that I fly, it is not American aircraft, it is Chinese, it's a DJI product. I have 6 directional sensors on that. It will not let me fly into a restricted area unless I have waivers with the waiver number typed into my controller. It hits it, shuts it, it holds right there and will not let it go further forward. DJI, for it being everybody doesn't want them, it's one of the most advanced technologies out there. They control the market on the way it needs to be. America, honestly, is about 10 years behind. They're trying to get there, but every time they're there, DJI is already past that and moving on to the next phase. It's kind of hard. It's one of those things. I know most people, like I said, we use it, but it's one of those things that's like, that's the best top-notch aircraft out there to fly to do these inspections. The government, like I said, I'm running into issues right now because we're doing a lot of stuff for tribal stuff. They're government grants. I can't fly my aircraft. I have to fly a different aircraft. It's a US-made aircraft to do that project because it's government money, so it has to meet government rules and regulations. So that's still been an ongoing battle. It'll probably go on for a while still, but I know Trump's in there now and he's pushing some major issues, so that might end a lot sooner than later, and it's not a good thing for sure, but we'll have to kind of see how it lays out. But there's nothing to worry about. Chinese government, they can care less about what we're flying over. All this information that I can get with a drone, you can get from an airplane or a satellite. You're not getting detailed information how big the leak is, how many satellites are in the air right now, and they're going to advance those. The last conference I was at, they want to quadruple the amount of satellites in the air by end of 2026 to actually do methane inspections and everything else. So it's one of those things, they're trying to advance it more and more, but if someone can hack into the satellite or someone launches a satellite, that's free space. Chinese can launch just as many satellites as us and pull the same data we're pulling. So what's the difference between us pulling it and the Chinese pulling it? It's the same thing. They're not trying to get anything. If they want to hack into your system, what they're trying to hack into is when you're trying to log back into a network off your controller or something funky like that, that's where they're going to try to go after. But they're not going to monitor everybody 100%. Oh, this guy's finding out his bank and he's logged into his bank Wi-Fi. They're not paying attention to that. Come on. But people are worried about, oh, they're seeing how the border's at, or, because the Border Patrol, they wanted to see our fixed-wing aircraft. But it's government. We can't fly that aircraft right there either because it actually has internal Chinese controls also. So just one of those things we got to really break down kind of differently there. I just want you guys to understand that, yes, it is a thing that we're trying to get rid of, but in all honesty, If they want data that we have, we're pulling off of drones and everything else, they'll use a satellite. They probably got it before we do. I guarantee they know everyone you're building a facility before or putting a pipeline in before I can get out there and start an inspection. Because they have a satellite scanning it 24/7. So, just saying. So, BV loss, that's one of the big things too, right through here. As 107 pilots, we have to keep the aircraft in line of sight at all times. It's a big thing for us. You guys go buy a drone, do whatever you want. My drone by itself, without anything else, I can fly that 9 miles away from me. That's how far I can fly my drone out there. My small little Mavic, which you guys can go buy at Best Buy and everything else, I've flown that thing out there 6.5 miles away from me before. Is that the only reason I could have went further? But I needed battery to get it back. So it's one of those things, didn't want to chase it down. But with that waiver, or with that BV loss, that hurts us in the drone industry. But technology advanced more and more, so we can actually pull waivers for that now too. I have several waivers within certain regions. I have big waivers in Permian Basin. I have waivers in Panhandle, Texas, where I can fly my aircraft beyond visual line of sight. I know my limitations with all that. I have the equipment to monitor it. That big mobile command center, that mast on there goes 60 foot in the air. I can keep connectivity with that drone all the time. It's unbelievable how it actually kind of works that way. So with that, with the waivers going out, there's a lot more people doing anything else. This comes back into your AI, where we're doing command stations where they're flying multiple drones from one spot and they're flying everywhere else. It's being flown from one area. That's where BV loss comes in. And that's what's actually going to make AI technology advance more and more. You're going to see a lot more drones for delivery and all these other industries for inspection and everything else. They're just going to launch on a regular routine basis, take off. We did a bunch of testing for DJI a long time ago on the first docking station here in El Reno. You know, we have a good tie connection with DJI. So it's one of those things, we did a lot of testing out here for their first one with BV loss. Doing just constant where it launches itself. We're monitoring it, watching it take off, land, do inspection on our facility, re-land. It would just pull in data so they can kind of see it. It's quite phenomenal what it can actually do if it keeps on advancing the way it is. But it's been on hold because everybody has to have a waiver to do it. You can't just go do it on your own. You actually have that waiver. So Part 108, that's what I'm going to bring into this. Part 108's been in the works. It's another license, the next advanced license. If you have a 108 license, it's actually going to change everything around the world for AI and for BV loss. So having that license now, I can fly a lot more BV loss areas depending on restricted areas and stuff like that, where I'm not having to go apply for a waiver. It's just like the government. I go apply for a waiver, I got to fill all the paperwork out, submit it in, I get questions back, submit it back in, wait. At one time, a long time ago, we were waiting almost to a year for a waiver to come back to us. I can pull a waiver in less than 3 months now. It's advanced that much, but for us, we have so much waivers and everything else, so they already know our process and procedure, so it goes a lot quicker. But for you to pull a waiver right now, first time ever trying to do it, I guarantee you can get your paperwork kicked back 7 times before they even like, okay, well, I'll review it. But it's one of those things. But with 108 licensing, so all our 107 pilots, they just gotta go retest for different zones, study some other stuff, and then just recheck out for that BV loss, AI technology, a lot of different scenarios. So through the years and time, it actually has advanced quite a bit, and it's kind of nice that way for sure. And that's all I got. Thoughts, questions, concerns, because I'll try to keep it to 30 minutes. I did pretty good, I think. Any questions on any kind of components or anything else? So.
Are you getting along? I mean, what are some of the questions people are asking?
The main ones is going back to what do we need to look for as a customer trying to hire a company, and that's why I kind of highlighted certain, because the rules and regulations, there's probably, I could sit up here probably for 2 hours talking about rules and regulations for 107 pilot. But that's one of the main things is actually what do they need to know or how, because a lot of people, like you guys go over and try to hire somebody, oh yeah, we'll do drone work, but are they going to do it properly? They're going to give you all that data, they're going to give you all this information and everything else, or are they just Joe Schmo that started flying off and coming back in and actually trying to do that? So it's kind of been one of those things where that's why I kind of highlighted some of those key points on rules and regulations, just making sure you're in compliance as that kind of goes too. So
say a small operator, how many facilities, they just need a pretty basic methane emission, like, hey, Watto's coming down my neck, and I just need to, drive around my facility. How many of those can you do a day for somebody?
It depends on the drive time and how close they are. So that's the big thing, how it hits there. I've recorded times. I can park my vehicle, throw my fly mat out, launch my aircraft, do a full inspection on a standard small facility, and back in my vehicle driving down the next location in 16 minutes. Tell me how long it takes your handheld guy just to even get set up. Because all those FLIR cameras are cool.
And how fast do you get that and report back?
That depends on the customer, whoever you hire to do that. For us, it's one of my standards. I'm no longer, most of the time we're within 24 hours. By the next morning, you're getting your report. my standard for me is no longer than 48 hours because just depending on what it is. Pipeline is a lot because it's a lot of mileage and data that we're trying to bring in and just re-evaluate the whole situation. So we're trying to make sure we have everything correct and giving all that data because we're flying hundreds of miles at a time. We're not doing just a 2 mile stint. It's actually quite a bit. There's a lot of data we got to bring in to make sure it's all there and collected correctly. But it just kind of depends. It goes back to how close they are and everything else. Because I can hit line of sight in reality for our aircraft. I can see it almost 2 miles away. It has strobe lights, it has lights, everything else, so I can see it. So I can fly it from one spot, and if the locations are close, like Permian Basin, prime example, I can sit in one spot and hit a bunch of locations from there. The drawback on our smaller aircraft, I'm getting about 35 minutes of flight time, so I gotta come back in, land, launch batteries again, and do it again. But we hot swap everything, so I never fully shut the aircraft down. It's one of the nice things I said, I didn't go to detail with that aircraft, but it's like, I can land it, swap batteries out without completely shutting the drone down or the camera, because if anybody here has done FLIR inspections, or sorry, OGI inspections with the FLIR camera, you know, you got your cool down periods and everything else, so you gotta let the camera cool back down and everything else, and go back. I never shut it off, so it never has to go through that cycle again, because it's standard like any other OGI camera. I'm relaunching it back in the air in no time at all.
When you're doing a site inspection, you have to get airspace rules and regulations for a certain time factor, and then also moving towards invading private space and rules and regulations come down the pike. I mean, that's going to be a major concern.
Yeah, it is. So for me, when I'm dealing with customers and stuff like Jason, Bo, and Danny here, when they're trying to sell for me, they already know I need a KML file. I need to know where your locations are at. I need to know what's going on because I need to evaluate that before I bid anything because it could be restricted area. Hey, I can't, there's a section over in Utah the pipeline goes through, but it's a flight zone for the military. I can't even enter it. I'm like, they have to walk, I think it's 28 miles of pipeline, walk. They can't even drive a vehicle in there. They have to walk 28 miles of pipeline to inspect it. And so when I asked for that KML file, that's what I'm pulling up because we have different applications and apps that I can overlay. I'm like, hey, this is restricted. Can we fly there? A company that has access and done quite a bit. Prime example, we did a golf tournament for a golf ball drop in Midland, Texas, right next to the airport. The pro there at the golf course says, no one can fly a drone here. I said, I bet you I can. I pulled waivers for that whole entire day for 2 aircraft to fly, and the airplanes were taking off right next to us. If the person that you're hiring to do this has been doing this long enough, a true pilot, understands the rules and regulations, more than likely, because I have permission to fly next to Dallas-Fort Worth Airport too. I can fly next to that because there's pipeline through there that they want us to inspect. I got approval for that. If the person actually understands and everything else, more than likely, and they've been around it enough, they're able to pull waivers and understand because they're gonna be like, okay, this pilot's he's not brand new, he's got 10 hours. He's got thousands of hours. He's pulled this many waivers, doing different scenarios, flying over people, because that's another big thing is like residential areas and stuff like that. We can fly over whatever because I have full permission and access to do that. Because airspace is not controlled by anybody, that's open. We can fly all that Class G 100% on our own. So you come back in and say that, it's like we can do that if they actually truly understand. Most people, like I'm saying, DJI product, great product, because you know why? To me, it's a great thing for people that are just hobbyists doing drone work. That drone, that controller, it knows it's mapped out itself already. It knows where it cannot fly. If you don't have a waiver, it stops. Or it won't even let you take off. You sit there and it won't even let you start the process to take off. You're like, you're in a restricted area, you're not flying this aircraft. US technology doesn't have that. US technology, you can just do whatever you want to do. That's one of the drawbacks on that. That's why it's so many features for safety aspects and everything else. That's why they're so advanced on that, because they know the scenarios. Hey, you're not supposed to be in there. Do you have permission? If you don't have permission, what do we need to do? So in that aspect of it, as long as that person's actually flying long enough and understanding the rules and regulations, they can probably pull a waiver to do anything you want to do, but it's going to get more and more strict. But I see more and more drones in the air here eventually. You're going to see a lot more delivery projects going out there. Everybody's trying to improve and advance their delivery projects for small things, especially pharmacists. They're trying to really push that because it's easier for elderly to get stuff dropped off in front of their house where they can just walk outside, pick it up, and go back inside without having to leave, or call someone to take them somewhere. So it's advancing quite a bit. Yes, sir.
Does the waiver come from the FSDO office?
Just depends on what you're doing. So it kind of breaks down where you applied everything through the FAA, no matter what, the original one. So when you apply it through there, they're going to branch it off to wherever division it needs to cover that. Kind of depend on your situation or what you're going to be needing. So it kind of breaks down like, hey, no, this is more this guy's specialty, or that's their region, so let's send it over there. Let them evaluate.
You got to submit it through.
Yeah, you guys got to submit it through all that, yes. But it kind of breaks down on what division you got to break it to after that. So.
What type of processing software do you use to pick a wrong drone imagery to employ?
It just depends on what I'm doing. There's so many out there. It kind of just depends on what you're wanting or what your total back-end delivery is.
3D and mosaic?
There's Drone Deploy is one of the biggest ones out there. They use quite a bit of it. They do quite a bit and everything else. I mean, I can throw in Drone Deploy. I can throw up to like 3,000 pictures like some of those facilities. I think that scan there that I showed you there, I think that was almost 3,000 pictures on that picture, and they stitched every one of them together to make that map. But there's quite a few out there that actually, but I would refer drone deploy because they're actually pretty advanced and everything else and whatnot.
So a lot of Quado stuff had like a headhunter program. Have you heard of anybody using drones for the headhunter to like report people as opposed to those emissions? I normally use satellites or helicopters.
I haven't seen a whole lot of that, and it's one of those things I think it's going to come back to us because satellite imagery right now is not 24/7. So if you need it, you got to wait for it to pass back through, and then so same thing with methane leaks. It's only certain phases or strips of it, so it's got to pass and it's got to come back and drop down one so they can create the map. That's why I foresee a lot more because everybody was going to use airplane or that. But if you want true detail, lower is way better because you're getting better quality imagery off of that. And you can actually see the true spills and stuff like that. So I foresee it as a headhunting coming back here pretty quick. Is that it?
Questions for David?
Thank you very much, everyone. Hold on. I'll leave that up.
We have a pen and pencil set we want
Oh.
to leave you with.
All right,
Great.
thanks, sir.
Thank you, Dave.
I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. So just real quick before we head out of here, I want to say thanks to our sponsors, which Flogistix is one, JCAM Catalyst, thank you guys, and Diamant, they're our sponsors for this year. Coming up April 10th, right here, we will have Matt Rube with Heimdall, right? And Matt's going to talk about direct air carbon capture in Oklahoma, so that should be an interesting presentation. So we're looking forward to that. May the 8th will be our last lunch here. We're working on a speaker right now. We haven't confirmed that person yet, but we'll let everybody know via Eventbrite. That'll be our last lunch for the year, and then we will start our kickoff next year at Stars and Stripes Park on September 11th, right, Phil? That'll be a lunch at Stars and Stripes Park on September 11th. There's quite a few events coming up. I want to go through a couple of these if you'll indulge me just a second. So March 28th is the SPE Crawfish Bowl at Trace Management, right, Phil? And if you are an SPE member, this is a membership drive. If you're an SPE member, that is free. And if you're not, then you have to pay or get your membership there, correct? And so go ahead, and I need to do that too, is renew your membership for SPE this year, and then Crawfish Bowl on March 28th. Coming up here on May 13th in this room will be a happy hour from 5 to about 7. As you guys all know, Rick Muncrief from Devon is retiring as CEO, and he'll be moving on. He's going to be our AADE keynote speaker. Rick started as a drilling engineer. He's got a lot of interesting stories in history. So he's going to come and speak to everyone. We'll probably only sell 200 tickets to that. I expect that will probably sell out. So as soon as we get that out, start looking for that. You can usually find that if you follow me on LinkedIn. I'll be blasting that hopefully next week. But Rick confirmed today. So that'll be May 13th right here, happy hour, 5 to 7 with Rick Muncrief. And we'll also have the bacon and the fried green beans, which is very popular.
That's AADE.
That is the AADE. Yes, that's our AADE Q2 happy hour event. So just going through a couple of these other events, let's see. The SPE Symposium, Phil, is April 15th and 16th at the Convention Center. The CASA shoot will be coming up April 11th. That's the Devon CASA shoot at Cedar Gate and Kingfisher. Energy Explorers will be April 10th at the Petroleum Club. That will be Tom Ward, will be the keynote speaker for that, so that'll be interesting. The Alliance Open Golf Tournament at Quail Creek is April 14th. Wildcatters Lunch with Richard Spears. Richard's going to tell us what he thinks about this year. Will be April 30th. Wildcatters Lunch at the Petroleum Club. April 7th is an OSU student section Top Golf event. If you're a service company, it's $200. If you're an operator, that's free. This is kind of a Bedlam Top Golf event. We're trying to introduce OU, OSU, SPE, AAD students to industry professionals, kind of get those people connected. So if you get a chance to come out to Top Golf for that, that's a good event. I know, Jim, you'll probably be there. Big supporter of that. I think that's it. Anybody else have any? I know there's a lot of events coming out, so thank you guys very much. We will see you on April 10th. Thanks again, David.